Hello, my name is Ása and this is the course Lærum Íslensku, or Let's Learn Icelandic, and today we're going to move on a little bit with the adjectives. So we're trying to build a foundation of Icelandic grammars, and this includes the adjectives. So before watching this episode, I strongly encourage you to watch some of my other grammar lessons, in particular episode 23, where I talk about the legur adjectives, and the few episodes that I would recommend that you watch before then. So just check out if you've seen them all. If so, just continue. If not, go back to those and then just come back to this one whenever you have the time. So today we're going to talk about the samur adjectives. And no, I'm not going to go over every single adjective there is in Icelandic in this course, but I think it's useful to look a little bit in the samur adjectives. So the main goal of the lesson today is threefold. So number one, or nummer eitt, is that I want to continue and practice a little bit the adjectives that are regular, or mostly regular, because the Icelandic adjective jungle is wide and deep. So I think it's good to have the foundation sort of solid before we start to look into more complicated matters. Then goal number two, or nummer tvö, is that I want to add some vocabulary, introduce some new words. I think this is always useful when you're learning a language, to learn more words. That's the only way to communicate. And then the goal number three, or nummer þrjú, is that we will get our first official sound change. Ooh. About the samur adjectives. First of all, they are not as common as the legur adjectives by any means. So in the legur adjectives, we have more than 100 without a doubt, and new get created every day. So we have really a lot of legur adjectives. But the samur adjectives are still fairly common, but I would say that we have maybe a dozen or 2 dozens of samur adjectives that we use fairly often. But that's still, quite a bit, and some of them are quite common, so they're very useful to know. What does it mean, this ending samur? Technically speaking, like if you translate it directly, it means something like the same as. Samur is the same as. So if we take an example of an adjective, then we can, for example, take the word afbrýðissamur, or if we say it at a normal speed, afbrýðisamur, then this means to be jealous. But here we have the combination of afbrýði, which is jealousy, and then samur, which means same as. So when a person is afbrýðisamur, then it's the same as jealousy. Or if we adopt a more natural translation, it's someone that we sort of identify with jealousy. Then we say he's afbrýðisamur. Another example is the word hjálpsamur, which means helpful or helpsome. And here hjálp means help, and then we have the ending samur. So hjálpsamur is somebody who you identify with help. So then this person is hjálpsamur. So practically this is the same ending as some in English. So when you say help some, it's the same as being hjálpsamur, somebody who is characteristically willing to help. There are some differences between the legur adjectives and the samur adjectives. In particular, the legur adjectives, you can usually or typically use them both about people and objects. On the other hand, the samur adjectives, we typically mostly only use them for people. So we use them for people, maybe animals, potentially your computer, but usually something that we assume that has a person of some sort. And you can already see it from the adjectives that we discussed, afbrýðisamur, which means jealous, and hjálpsamur, which means helpsome. You don't use these kinds of words with inanimate objects. The chair is not going to be jealous, and it's not really going to be helpful. It can be useful, but it's not helpful because it has no inner desire to help you. So the samur adjectives, they usually describe character traits more than looks in some sense. In some cases, the samur adjectives can also be used to describe sort of more abstract concept, but as a rule, they're mostly used for people. Okay, so now let's just learn how to use them, and let's use the word hjálpsamur as our canonical samur adjective example. As I hope you remember from the legur lesson, when I say legur, this is the male singular form. So we said skemmtilegur for the male singular form, and in a similar way, the dictionary form of the word is the male singular. So when we have a single male, we say hann skemmtilegur for the legur adjectives, and for the samur adjectives in a similar way, we say hann hjálpsamur. Hann hjálpsamur, or he is helpsome. Now we move on to the singular female version, and here comes the action, big action, because here we will have our first official sound change. Okay, so if you remember what we did with the legur adjectives, when we moved on to the female form, we removed the ur, and we said hún skemmtileg. So if we would follow a similar sort of pattern, we would want to move the ur from the samur, and this is actually what we do. But we don't like female adjectives ending with the last vowel a. Icelanders say no, this doesn't happen, we don't like it. So always where we would expect the last syllable, the last vowel of an adjective to end with an a in the female form, instead we turn the a into an ö. Okay? We turn the a into an ö. And this is a general rule that I think applies always, or at least almost always. So we say hún skemmtileg, and hún hjálpsöm. And this is a very common sound change in Icelandic. You will see it not only in the adjectives, you will also see it in the nouns, and we will also see it in the verbs. It's very common, and in fact, we have seen it if you've watched the course so far very carefully. We've seen it in some sense without me mentioning anything about it. For example, we have seen that one child is barn, but when we turn it into the plural, we have two children, then we say börn. So as you can see, it's all around, and it will happen again and again and again. But for now, let's just focus on the adjectives. And this is fairly regular. I mean, this happens always, I think, at least almost always, when the last vowel of the female version of an adjective is supposed to be a, then we turn it into an ö, because it's ridiculous to end the female adjectives with the last vowel a. That's so absurd. We would never. So now if we go to the neutral version of the word that we use for non-binary people and for neutral words in general, then if you remember when we used the legur adjectives, then we would say hán skemmtilegt, or alternatively það skemmtilegt. So we took the original dictionary version of the word, meaning skemmtilegur, we took the ur away and we put t instead. And this is exactly the same as we will now do for the samur adjectives. So we will say hán hjálpsamt, and það hjálpsamt. So let me read over these versions in the singular form. We say hann hjálpsamur, hún hjálpsöm, and hán hjálpsamt, það hjálpsamt. Okay, so it's almost exactly like the legur adjectives. The way we change it is almost exactly like the legur adjectives, except there's one little sound change. And the beauty of the samur adjectives is the same as the beauty of the legur adjectives, because the ending is the same. That means that the same grammar applies for all the words, and you learn many words at once, which is not always the case, but is the case now, so enjoy it because you will miss it later, I can promise you that. So, if we, for example, try another word, like the word that we mentioned before, afbrýðisamur, which means jealous, then we could, for example, say maðurinn afbrýðisamur. Maðurinn afbrýðisamur. Konan afbrýðissöm. Konan afbrýðissöm. And barnið afbrýðissamt. Barnið afbrýðissamt. And because we are trying to add a little vocabulary, we can add one more word, and this is the word stjórnsamur. Stjórnsamur, and stjórn means control, and stjórnsamur means somebody that we identify with control, or in English you would say controlling, a controlling person. And then our examples become þetta stjórnsamur maður. Þetta stjórnsamur maður. Þetta stjórnsöm kona. Þetta stjórnsöm kona. And finally, þetta stjórnsamt barn. Þetta stjórnsamt barn. Okay, so that wasn't so hard, especially if you already tried to learn the legur adjectives a little bit. These ones are almost the same. It's almost the same. Just one little sound change and then they're almost the same. So let's just look at the plural now. So if you remember, if you have two male guys, and they're really fun, they're a lot of fun, these guys, and in the legur adjectives, we said þeir skemmtilegir. And the samur adjectives are exactly the same. You just take the root of the word and add ir to it. So we say þeir hjálpsamir. Þeir hjálpsamir. And when we had two female persons, then when we were talking about fun people and the legur adjectives, then we said þær skemmtilegar. Þær skemmtilegar. And now we do exactly the same with the samur adjectives, and we say þær hjálpsamar. Þær hjálpsamar. Very easy, almost exactly the same. But now we move on to the plural in the neutral form. Plural in the neutral form. And if you remember from the legur adjectives, we said þau skemmtileg. Þau skemmtileg. So this version was the same as the female singular version in the legur adjectives, remember. So it's exactly the same. We say hún skemmtileg and þau skemmtileg. So the version of the adjective is the same. And this is also true for the samur adjectives. Exactly the same. So now we say þau hjálpsöm. We have the same sound change, same everything. The version looks the same as the female singular again. And this is true for almost all adjectives. So again, it's almost the same as the legur adjectives, but just with a tiny little sound change. Oh, some examples to give you more vocabulary and help you listen to these versions. I think it's very useful if you both try to listen to them and you both try to say them and even write them down, because our memory works in many different ways. So the more you attack these words, the more they will get drilled into your memory. But another word that is extremely useful, and that is the word hamingjusamur. Hamingjusamur. Hamingja means happiness, and then hamingjusamur is somebody who is happy. But it's a quite, it's not a fleeting word. It's not fleeting happiness. It's more like, it's a deeper sort of happiness. If you're a hamingjusamur, then you're sort of happy in your life in general. So let's start with the pronouns. Þeir hamingjusamir. Þeir hamingjusamir. Þær hamingjusamar. Þær hamingjusamar. And finally, Þau eru hamingjusöm. Þau eru hamingjusöm. Let's now try with nouns, and this time we can use the word samviskusamur. Samviskusamur. And samviskusamur actually means conscientious, or somebody who always does what he is supposed to do, or what they are supposed to do. So basically, if you always do your homework and you always do your dishes and you fulfill your responsibility, then you are samviskusamur or conscientious. And actually in Icelandic we use samviskusamur way more than the English use conscientious, because we also use it where the English or the American would use responsible instead. Then in some cases we would use samviskusamur, because samviskusamur is somebody who does what he or she or they are supposed to. Basically they fulfill their responsibilities. So let's try now with nouns. Strákarnir eru samviskusamir. Strákarnir eru samviskusamir. Stelpurnar eru samviskusamar. Stelpurnar eru samviskusamar. And finally, goðin eru samviskusöm. Basically, goð are gods, but usually when you have many gods, you use goð, but when you have only one god, you use guð. So guð, for example, is the Christian god, but when you're talking about the sort of the Norse mythology, then you use the word goð. And also when you talk about Greek mythology, basically typically when you have many gods in a religion, we call them goð, but when you have only one, we typically call them guð. So we say goðin eru samviskusöm, even though they weren't really very samviskusöm. This is a grammar lesson, so let's just go with it. Goðin eru samviskusöm. And finally, one more. Let's do, what should I do? Let's do a hugulsamur. Hugulsamur. Hugulsamur means considerate. Now we say, þetta eru hugulsamir menn. Þetta eru hugulsamir menn. Þetta eru hugulsamar konur. Þetta eru hugulsamar konur. And finally, þetta eru hugulsöm börn. Þetta eru hugulsöm börn. Okay, so now hopefully you know the Icelandic adjectives a little bit better. We have introduced sound chains, and we're getting closer to speaking proper Icelandic when it comes to adjectives. Stay tuned for the exercises, and I strongly recommend that you do them, because this is the kind of thing that you just have to repeat. And if you repeat it, then it will just get fixed into your memory, and then you don't even need to think about it. Here is a summary of what we learned in this lesson. Press pause and read it at your own pace. Fill in the blanks with the correct form of the word sparsamur, which means frugal. Að spara means to save money, so sparsamur is somebody who saves money. Press pause, take all the time that you need, and now I will give you the answer. So here you have the result. Press pause to look at it as long as you please. For the second exercise, I want you to connect the beginning of the sentence with the second half of the sentence. Press pause, take all the time that you need, and now I will give you the answer. And here is the result for the second exercise. I hope you managed to get everything correctly. The third exercise is a little bit more tricky. I want you to take the words that are in gray and put them in the right form into the blanks. Press pause, take all the time that you need, try your best, and then now I will give you the answer. As you might not have heard all of these words, I will read the Icelandic sentences out loud. Tröllin eru stjórnsöm. Löggan íhaldssöm. Brúðguminn hamingjusamur. Púslið vandasamt. Nemendurnir eru samviskusamir. And finally, flugfreyjurnar eru hjálpsamar. As a final exercise, I want you to try and make up a sentence completely on your own. So just get a pen and paper, or you can do it on your computer, doesn't matter, and just try to create from scratch one sentence for every single pronoun, and you can just pick whatever adjective that you like. Good luck!